The second major championship of the 2023 disc golf season is underway, and we are here in Nokia, Finland, at the Beast, the historic Beast, for the European Open. And now round one for the MPO division is beginning. Brian Earhart joined here by Andrew Gum, full-time disc golf commentator over here in Finland. You have been over here for quite some time. You've watched European disc golf explode. And before we get into some of the European players, we have to talk about the two players that put on a serious show last year. Paul McBeth, Eagle McMahon coming over here, and Eagle taking him down after a phenomenal historic victory. Talk about what you remember from that moment.
Oh, that was just phenomenal. I mean, that was just disc golf at its finest, really, wasn't it? You know, I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen two players play at that level for that, for 4-round event. I certainly can't remember anything like it. You know, they distanced themselves so far from the pack. It was just the two of them. And they just kind of were neck and neck right there to the very end, pushing each other to the very limits of what's possible, it seems like.
Well, and they both, again, averaged 1070 golf. We can't say it enough. Both players brought career events to the major championship, and they got to go back-to-back, and Eagle just out of his mind excited after a up-and-down season, injury taking him out of his original game plan pretty much all year. But man, it's just great to see disc golf played at that high of a level, and it's just inspiration for all these younger players and all of these European players to kind of rise up to this level. But take a look here at the McBattle. I mean, 1074 event rating. I mean, highest in PDGA major history. And Paul averaging in the 1070s, and well, it's still losing the championship. What I love is that both these players were fighting through adversity when they came here, and Paul has a lot riding on this. He's inching closer and closer to taking down Ken Climo's major title record, given obviously we do play more majors these days, but still, to win this many times, it definitely says something.
Yeah, absolutely. What more can you say? It was just unbelievable what they did. It was one for the ages. What do you think? Is there any chance we could see it again this year?
I mean, every time he shows up to a major championship, you can't count him out. This is something that he gets super excited for. I think what was very telling was the way he performed in the final round of the PCS Open last week. He showed masterful angle control. He seemed extremely under control off the tee, which out here, like we've been saying time and time again, is what is required out here at the Beast. But again, the putts matter, but really if you stay safe, you give yourself opportunities to put yourself in circle 2, circle 1. That's how you're going to take down a victory. And Paul, last week, leading in a lot of the driving categories. We did hear from Paul McBeth at the presser this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
Can I throw as hard as, and put as much effort as someone like Eagle McMahon on forehands or backhands? Yeah, of course. Like back in 2008, I actually won the world distance competition, so I did that. I had fun with that, and I threw as far as I could, but that wasn't going to help me win tournaments. I felt like that was just going to put more stress on my body. If I go out there and throw the disc 85% or 90%, I'm going to be throwing it 500 feet, and that's really what you need on these courses. We play some golf courses where you might need more, but as we've moved to those golf courses, you see a lot more injuries to these players. So I think it's kind of I look at each year individually. It's like a war. And each tournament's kind of a battle, and you want to win the war, not the battle. So some of these courses, I might lean on a roller more just to save energy and save my body versus trying to rip, 500-600 feet each shot.
Well, it is interesting hearing Paul talk about how distance is not necessarily his biggest focus out here at the Beast, and yet Eagle McMahon, one of the biggest distance throwers in history, taking down the title. Let's look at the course itself, and obviously you've been commentating on European disc golf, full time now. What type of distance does this course actually require?
Well, there's some holes that it can really help you out a lot, but it's I think more focused on placement and control. There's a lot of OB lines, a lot of tight gaps once you get back there in the woods. Distance is helpful, but it's not one of those courses that really kind of demands that exceptional level of distance, or it doesn't necessarily, gain you too much.
Well, yeah, I think of a few holes where the power can be condensed into maybe throwing a slower, more controllable disc on certain shots. I think the approach on number 16 is a big example. If you can push up the fairway, maybe you can even come into the green with a mid-range or a slow fairway driver. I think of hole number 15, Calvin Heimberg was one of those players that was getting it with a 7-speed, and that obviously is extremely helpful throwing off of elevation from the top of the hill on 15. I think power does help, but regardless, if you're a powerful player, you obviously have downsides as well. You have to compress that power into accuracy, and this course seems to punish you around every bend. It seems like we have this course and Winthrop Gold that punish distance players if they're not careful.
Yeah, they have to dial it down a little bit and make sure to hit those landing zones. And but like you said, you can disc down with the speed and get a little bit more control, but the power can still allow you to access greens and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're going to see players throughout the week learning from their mistakes, and especially with all the new players over here, this is more Americans than we've ever seen coming over to this side. They're going to have to sit on these holes and sit with their failures, I think, before they kind of figure out an actual game plan out here because of how many different ways you can play these tricky holes. We have to obviously talk about Eagle McMahon as well, but let's first hear what he had to say earlier in the week at the press conference.
It feels really special. Yesterday I came out and played the course for the first time since last year. Definitely a special feeling out there walking the fairways, and I'll just say the place looks great.
Talked about the lefty so much last year. You did so well in hole number 2 with it. Is there any maintenance happening with the lefty backhand these days? Are you putting in any intentional practice?
I would say not really. It's more, let me throw a few shots here and there lefty to maybe see if it's improving, and it actually does. Like, if you'll be surprised by throwing just a little bit here, a little bit there, how you can gain a little bit distance and at least keep it as an option. I really would like to put more work into it because I really do believe that it could be advantageous in the future to be ambidextrous to a certain degree.
Eagle is always innovating the game of disc golf. It seems like he's always at the forefront of something new. And last year, of course, he's going to give us the lefty backhand on hole number 2. That's something that I think a lot of people will never forget because it captivates the imagination of what's possible with the flying disc. I think, again, going back to what we were saying, with this course, not necessarily catering to distance players. It gives them an opportunity to take the advantage of going slower. But last week at the PCS, he was struggling to throw certain mid-ranges on certain holes. So I think he's still kind of working in this new skill set. He said he's going to incorporate a few more forehands. You watched him a little bit at the President's Cup. You've seen him throw some more sidearms this year. Do you think he really needs to throw that many more this tournament?
I guess he doesn't need to. I mean, he got that lefty backhand working so well last time. He seems a lot more comfortable with it. It seems like he's made some adjustments with his form in it that he's not really kind of like reaching back and ripping it so hard. So as long as he's not hurting himself, I think he needs to do whatever he thinks he needs to do to score out there.
Exactly, and it's tough when you have to completely change your game plan or at least think that you have to bring back the old sidearm when you average 1074, barely throwing any. It's tempting to want to just go with that again. Interested to see how he does move the disc left to right this week. He struggled at certain points at PCS trying to throw those types of late turn shots, but again, out here anything goes, and we saw him last year pull it off. We're going to take a quick commercial break. On the other side, we can't talk about the European Player of the Year, Nicolas Antila.
What's up, guys? I'm here at the European Open, and I want to remind you to go check out the European Open online pro shop to check out some exclusive discs, merchandise, apparel, and so much more. Thank you for supporting the event, and enjoy the show.
A round of disc golf can be long, and if you're playing in a tournament, it can feel like a marathon. This can leave you physically and mentally fatigued by the end when your shots matter most. With space for your discs, water, and even a place to sit, a cart enables you to bring what you need, helping you feel more prepared and energized without carrying the extra weight. This can help you maintain your edge and save you strokes through every round.
I have been playing pretty good recently. Of course, I won Canopy's Day by 8 strokes, so that gave me a good confidence boost for the rest of the season. And I feel like my putting has been very good lately, so yeah, I feel confident in going into this week. Everything has been going forward like a little bit more again, and I think that's the main thing for me, that I'm a little bit better every year. So I will be very good at like after 10 years or so. So I feel like my putting is being super hot lately, and I think my accuracy is where it needs to be as well.
It's interesting listening to someone as young as Nicholas Antila speak so maturely about just playing the long game and realizing if I can just get 1% better every single day, I'll be good in 10 years, which is very mature for someone his age to say. It reminds me, honestly, of the person he battled with at the USDGC, Gannon Burr, also saying that he's planning and being in this for a long time and isn't sweating his failures too much. I do want to ask you, as a commentator for a lot of the Finnish players, what do you think about Nicholas Antila's game, and is he that much better than the rest of the field?
Well, I guess, I wouldn't say he's that much better than everybody else, but he's much more consistent and more comfortable in pressure situations. He really wants to win, and he really feels comfortable playing for the win. Mm-hmm. And that's, he has like just a little bit another level of competitive energy compared to the rest of the Europeans right now. There's a handful of guys that I think are just as good as him, technically, skill-wise, but he's got the advantage.
There's that X factor that we seem to talk about, week in and week out, especially at major time. There's only a handful of players that seem to be able to rise up to the occasion when it comes down to these 4-round events at the big courses with the big gallery. And that was one of the first things I noticed about Nicholas. It's like, okay, well, he's a very solid player. He's a great backhand thrower, forehand. He's got the full skill set, but why does he keep getting second place at these majors? He's so close to taking down the big one, and I think he's primed to do it. Again, he's just telling himself, I don't care if I have a bad tournament here and there. I know that if I keep getting better, I'm going to be dominant for a long time.
Yeah, he's the highest rated player in Europe. He's won everything in Europe that's possible. He's the reigning European and Finnish champion. He's won all the, he's won Euro Tours, European Pro Tours. The next step is that big major or that Disc Golf Pro Tour title.
Yeah, well, another player that we have to talk about that is kind of a wild card this season because of some health issues is Ricky Wysocki. Ricky is never someone we can really count out of the picture, but with the wrist flare-ups and with all these little complications from Lyme disease, you never really know what he's letting us in on, and is he feeling 100% healthy this week? I mean, Ricky has also come so close here. Just overall thoughts that you've seen from Wysocki over the years.
Well, he's such a fierce competitor, and it's so fun when he's, playing at his best. So I can just hope that he's, feeling 100% healthy, because when he is, then he's definitely somebody who has to be considered, in contention for the win anywhere, any course, any given day.
Yeah, and man, we look back at 2019. European Open, Ricky giving us some of the most phenomenal clutch shots that we've ever seen. I remember the roller that he threw at hole number 4 that year. Man. One of the best shots potentially that we've ever seen at a major championship. Anyone who hasn't seen that should go back, find that coverage, and see that shot on hole 4 final round. Ricky is here to give us some fireworks, and I think he's saying that he's feeling really good. We talked to him pretty extensively at the presser. Let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah, I think out here the beast is. I actually kind of compare it to USDGC. Lots of OB, and I think that the last couple of days have been super windy with out of bounds. So the course, any course changes in the wind, but I mean out here especially, you can shoot 10, 12 under with no wind if there's no wind. But if there's wind, you're looking to shoot 4 or 5 under at most because these holes play super hard when it gets windy, and just throwing your disc 300, 350 feet safe on some of these par 4s is a great shot. And so, yeah, the pars are good coming down the stretch. The finishing 4 or 5 holes are very challenging, great holes, and lots of drama if you're a spectator and as a player, because you don't want to – there's a lot of holes that can ruin your tournament. And I think that, yeah, that's why you have to have respect for this course. And if you don't, then it will eat you up.
Ricky Wysocki giving respect to the beast. He is looking for his first major title in quite some time. Another player looking for that first major title, Calvin Heimberg, surprisingly enough. We're going to talk Calvin after a quick break.
40 yards, do not turn left or right. Just drive. You have reached your destination. You are home.
Welcome back to Tournament Central. We are going to talk real quick, Andrew, about a specific hole that is going to be a deciding factor in this tournament. Seems to be every single year, and the FPO division struggled heavily on it today. Hole number 16, we have to take a look. I think this is an incredible hole. Andrew, what do you know?
It's a really tricky par 4, plays as a bunker rule, so if you don't land your shot in bounds, you rethrow from your previous lie with no penalty. So, yeah, you just got to put it in play. It's a very iconic hole, very kind of reminiscent of that 17 at USDGC type feeling where big numbers can come in and where dreams are really ruined, really, every year. This is a survival hole, a hole you just have to kind of get through it. Okay, you can get aggressive and attack it, but you have to be aware of what the risks are with that.
Yeah, well, the risk here is you pretty much, to get yourself a decent look at the basket without having to overpower it, is you kind of have to play chicken with the out of bounds. The closer you get to the out of bounds line here, the better your angle is going to be. So how close do you truly want to get? How much do you want to sweat off the tee? And then, like you were saying, you can lay up. There is a far landing zone that if you put your drive in bounds, you don't necessarily have to go for this island green. You can pitch it up long. The thing that a lot of viewers, just to reiterate what you said, a lot of viewers don't realize is this is a bunker rule. So remember, if they miss the island, it doesn't necessarily mean that they take a penalty stroke. If you are throwing 2 to the island and you miss it, your next throw will be 3, not 4. So that's just something to keep in mind as you yourself watch at home. But yes, hole number 16, phenomenal hole. I love the way it's laid out. It seems simple, but when the tension rises, just like hole 17 at Winthrop, it's not. Yeah. A player that we need to talk about who is going to chase after his first major title, Calvin Heimberg. Seems like we talk about him every single day on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and yet he hasn't taken down a major. What do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the highest stage, it's the most important victory, and I'm sure he wants to get that monkey off his back as much as anybody. Of course, we all want to see him win a major, but you got to get it done out there, 4 days. You got to put together 4 good rounds and be the best.
Yeah, I mean, and to be the best over 4 rounds here, it takes a lot of perseverance. And I think Paul Macbeth was saying something along the lines of you have to just accept that bad things are going to happen to you. You might have to take 3 throws on 16 to get to the island at some point. And again, we're not saying that Calvin's not resilient. He's clearly resilient. He's the most consistent player on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. But we haven't seen him on top of the leaderboard at the end of a major. He's come so close. It feels like he's been a part of the narrative for so long.
Yeah, I remember that USDGC when it was pouring down with rain and he got so close and a little bit unlucky there. Yeah, we're going to look at his scorecard pretty soon.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the scorecard today. He's already out there on the course. 4 under, not too bad. Nice little 3 on hole number 3, taking the eagle early on. But to go back to what you were saying, that round at USDGC, I think, solidifies what we should believe about him as an athlete. That drive he threw on hole number 10, absolutely iconic eagle, just proving to you he doesn't get fazed by adversity. He's not the kind of player that does that. I will say, final round at PCS, he looked rocky, battled back, and almost, made a run for the win at a certain point. Ended up getting second place, or I believe third place, but still, Calvin is not someone we can ever count out, even though he's come up short so many times at major championships. But Andrew, I just have to say, he's the man to watch. We did hear from Calvin earlier in the week. Let's listen to what he had to say.
I think it's just, knowing you don't have to really do anything crazy at any one moment, and there's a lot of time, a lot of holes, and just know that one bad shot doesn't really take you out of it. It's just keeping your head in it for all 4 rounds is going to be really important. And I think out here, there's definitely plenty of spots to go out of bounds, and bogeys are going to happen. You're not just going to play perfectly clean every single round, so it's just not letting things compound and getting a bogey after you just got a bogey. So it's just one shot at a time, and depending on the wind, this year's been way windier so far than last year from what I remember, so it could score a little worse.
Well, Calvin said it, but I just have to say he is another person that we have to watch out for. Even though it seems like majors, there's a different set of names that we seem to talk about. We can't ever count him out. We're looking forward to seeing him get that monkey off his back. We are going to take a quick commercial break. On the other side, we're going to talk about some European players and who is poised to pop off here at the European Open.
What makes the halal guys so deliciously different? You might have heard of our famously long cart lines in NYC fans happily stand in. Today, with over 100 plus restaurants across the globe, we are your place to experience authentic American halal. Enjoy our delicious falafel, Euro sandwich, platters, and sides topped with our famously flavorful white and hot sauces. Order online today and taste how we make different so delicious. The halal guys, bringing something deliciously different to the table.
One of my favorite memories growing up was a trip I took with my dad to Hawaii. We just got done with a round of disc golf and decided to listen to the Grateful Dead. Without saying anything, we both knew we needed to dance, and that's exactly what we did. Sometimes you just need to stop and enjoy the music.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at our early leaders. Oni Arinen, you have to talk to me about this player here. I have personally not seen him play disc golf right now, but you know all sorts of players here. You've commentated on them all season. What do you know?
Well, Oni Arminen is kind of pretty new as far as being on the top level, young guy. We have seen him shoot some hot scores. We have not seen him put together a complete tournament yet to finish anywhere near the top, but incredibly talented young Finn, as there are so many. He's also tied with Nestori Tukkonen. He's been right there in the running several times this season. Another player that, could potentially be right up there in the top after a few rounds, but hasn't really proven himself to complete an event yet. A lot of these guys in Finland, it's amazing. The talent is so deep here.
Well, let's talk about this. I mean, historically, we've had certain players play extremely well here that are Europeans, haven't taken it down yet, but talk to me about who you believe is poised to make a big performance here.
Well, Lauri Lehtinen, he's the, I think, the one who has the best chance, in my opinion. He came back from 5 strokes behind and took down Mauri Vilman, who has been almost unstoppable this year in Europe at the Nokia Open, and that was not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. So to mount that kind of a comeback on this kind of a course against that level of a competitor, Lauri Lehtinen is a superstar, absolutely. Super inspirational story as well, coming off of a serious injury in the offseason where he thought he may not get to play disc golf ever again. He's come back at a level that's even higher than he was before. He hasn't been outside the top 5 yet this year, multiple wins. He's the man.
Well, we have to also talk about Jesse Nieminen, sidearm specialist with a solid round, a well-rounded game, but came out here early on years ago and popped off an incredible round. What do you know about him, and do you feel like he has good chances as well?
Spot on, man. He just coming off a win at the Turku Open, took down some seriously good players. And what surprised me the most about that is his backhand is amazing. This guy has a seriously good backhand. He just wasn't confident about it before, and now he started to finally get to the point where he's comfortable to use it in competition, and it is powerful and accurate. So he's not just the forehand specialist that we thought he was. He's the full package, and he's a threat to win here. Absolutely.
Well, that's what I was noticing as well. I remember watching footage of him playing Tampere a few years ago and just watching how powerful his backhand was. I knew it was coming along. The form itself looked good. It felt like there was just refinement needed. But I will say, if you are watching this tournament for the first time, or maybe seeing European competitors for the first time, and you haven't seen Jesse Nieminen, he might make your top 5 forehand throwers list. Phenomenal skill set, but again, I cannot wait to see him attack this course as well. Anybody else from the European field that you believe has a big opportunity here?
There's quite a lot of them, really, and so it's hard to pick out any given one, but a guy that's been really impressing me all season long is the amazing otter, Rasmus Salko-Ripi. Salko means otter, and it's a Eurasian otter in Finnish, so I'm trying to get that nickname started for him, the amazing otter. But he is amazing. I mean, really, forehand, backhand, top echelon distance and accuracy. And if he can just kind of keep everything calm and cool out there, another super young guy, he can score birdie on every single hole. There he is in the top 10, 6 down through 9, Rasmus Salko-Ripi. Hjalmar Fredriksson, 8 down in the clubhouse, 16-year-old Swedish player who's just blowing people's minds this year. Of course, everybody knows Jakub Semerad. Matias Vilota and Ani Rusanen. Matias Vilota is 17 from Estonia. He's a professional footballer, soccer player as well, 2-sport athlete, at the top of level in both as a teenager. And it's amazing. What a leaderboard. So excited.
Well, I mean, we have an all-European FPO lead card going into tomorrow as well. We do have to say, Hjalmar Fredriksson with the ace on hole number 2. Brody Smith came up to us just before this block with his jaw dropped, saying he was super impressed with the lefty backhand, righty forehand skills of Hjalmar Fredriksson. What is it with all this young talent that's starting to really come up here in Europe?
Disc golf's a big deal here. It's a mainstream sport in Finland, and it's getting there in Estonia and in Sweden and Norway. It's growing like crazy. Denmark, the scene is amazing, especially in Northern Europe, but throughout Europe, the sport is growing, and it is really just a privilege and an honor to get to witness it and to share it with all of you viewers out there. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I clearly Hjalmar Fredriksson is happy to be here with the lefty Powerheiser on number 2, dunking it in the basket from 390 feet away. Not a bad way to start your tournament. He's 8 under par. And I think there's so many players that have not even gone off yet ready to shoot something like that or better. With that said, we are wrapping up Tournament Central. The MPO lead card is about to go off. For Andrew Gum, I'm Brian Earhart. We'll see you out there.